Make sure that it covers his tummy so that it looks more slingy.
I think he's pretty the way he is.
Hello and welcome to Good Game, the show for gamers, by gamers. I'm Hex.
And I'm Barjo.
Barjo, you actually did a really good job with him. Those curtains are great.
Well, thanks very much. I've been working very hard on it. And the reason we're dressing up Brian is because it's his last day in the Den of Gaming. Tonight, we announce the winner of our Good Game Zombie Video competition.
We've had some amazing entries and we'll be showing you our favourite bits from as many of them as possible throughout the show.
Yes, as well as bringing you our thoughts on some of the latest gaming releases, including The Force Unleashed 2.
The stylish and fast-paced sci-fi romp that is Vanquish.
And Kratos is back on the small screen in God of War Ghost of Sparta. But first, can you guess the game for this week?
I'm gonna read the news in this tiara. Zynga, the company responsible for the social gaming sensation Farmville, is now worth more than Electronic Arts. The value of the privately held company has risen to $5.5 billion US, surpassing the market capitalization of EA by over $300 million. This achievement is all the more extraordinary when you consider that Zynga was founded only 3 years ago, with just $29 million in venture capital. The home of such blockbuster game franchises as The Sims, FIFA Soccer, and Medal of Honor, EA was once the #1 games publisher in the world. Yet the corporate giant has some high-profile failures of late, such as the abysmal MMO All Points Bulletin. EA is currently slashing staff numbers worldwide. Also trimming staff numbers is Danish developer IO Interactive, the studio responsible for the Hitman and Kane & Lynch games. IO has confirmed reports of a recent staff cull with around 35 employees getting the chop. This shedding has been described by the company as a standard realignment of resources, but reports are also emerging from IO that suggest a major video game project has been terminated. A match-fixing scandal has hit the world of Super Smash Bros. Brawl. The storm broke when news leaked that two of the world's greatest Brawl players agreed to split the winnings at a recent tournament. Going by the handle Mew2King, one of the players tainted by the furor has released an official statement in which he confesses to his sins and begs for his forgiveness. He's also promised that it will not happen again. Finally, a Canadian computer scientist has developed a new way to play Zork with an electric typewriter. Connected to a computer via a network of solenoids, Jonathan M. Gerberman's Automa typewriter can both read text commands and print output onto ordinary typing paper. The Zork port is just the beginning. New text adventure games are already in development for the device.
Good game! From the makers of Mad World and Bayonetta, and headed up by Shinji Mikami, the creator of Resident Evil, comes Vanquish.
It's the future. Earth has run out of resources, so it's practical to live on a giant space station harnessing the sun's energy to survive. This would all be fine if it weren't for the pesky Russians barging in and taking control.
Do you take me for a fool? Cooperation is mutual exploitation. We have merely exploited you first.
They turn the station into a Death Star-like thing that incinerates San Francisco. You play as Sam, a member of the Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency, otherwise known as DARPA.
Hex, I know DARPA's a real organization, but I laughed every time someone said it in the game.
DARPA. DARPA. DARPA! I don't take orders from DARPA!
And no points for guessing the plot. It's your job to infiltrate the station and reclaim it from the Russians.
We played this on PS3, and it just looks beautiful, from the locations, to the weapon effects, to the giant Transformer bosses, and just Sam himself. Sometimes I just sit there, Hex, and change weapons because it just looks so cool.
Yeah, he's RoboCop 2111. A variety of weapons are at your fingertips. Sniper rifles, heavy machine guns, but our favourite's the lock-on laser and the life gun, which ignores walls and comes in very handy for taking out turrets. You get opportunities to upgrade these weapons on the fly.
This is gonna be fun.
When you see an upgrade, it'll actually upgrade whichever weapon you're holding, so choosing which weapon you want to upgrade in the middle of a battle is really quite stressful, but it does let you have control over the way you play.
They are stressful, the battles too, aren't they? They're just all on such a big scale and there's heaps going on, and I think that's one of the big pluses to Vanquish. You always feel like you're in the middle of a heated battle and there's lots of enemies and teammates on screen. Having said that though, you're really the only one that matters. Your teammates don't do much. They're total pants.
Talking of pants, Sam's future suit comes equipped with rechargeable jets that allow you to zip around the place and out of danger or into it. I quite liked it. You get the hang of zipping around quite easily.
Yeah, and it looks really good in the bullet time too. Bullet time can be overused in some games, but they've done a pretty good job with it here. You can activate it yourself, or it'll activate automatically when you get low on health, and I just liked it simply for just how good it looked, Hex.
You end up relying on bullet time a little bit too much though, because things get quite hard. And if you're not a fan of that mechanic, then that could annoy you a little bit.
Yeah, you definitely need to use it in the boss fights too, and they look great and the bosses are epic, except, what do you think of the one-hit kills? Just so often I'd be fighting them and then all of a sudden, bam, one hit and I'm down.
No, I hate being in a boss fight for ages only to be taken out by one poxy melee hit or their giant yellow laser.
Or some random goon just lurking in the shadows that gets too close. If you don't like replaying boss fights, then you can drop the difficulty down at any time, and Hex, I did this towards the end of the game and I think I had a bit more fun with it.
On the flip side, this is a game that likes to stress you out, and that's welcome. The sound of those giant, slow-moving homing missiles, it's really terrifying. Sadly, after about 4 hours though, the combat became a bit of a chore for me and I found myself just pushing through to the big fights.
Yeah, and the game isn't that long, just a touch over 6 hours. I think they did a pretty good job of keeping you in an area to fight though, Hex, considering you've got a jetpack that can propel you forward faster than everyone else in your team. Although there is the odd level where you have to go back and find that one goon that no one managed to kill before you can move on because they're jamming the signal to the door. I hate it when games do that.
Yeah, and I'm not sure why a whole button is used just to smoke.
Yeah, it did seem a bit pointless. I'd rather have that button used for something more useful like activating bullet time.
You know, even with all the challenge modes that unlock, there's not a lot of replay value to Vanquish, to be honest. It just felt a bit mindless. It's an incredibly good-looking, slightly above-average game.
Yeah, I thought there were some strengths in the pacing of the game, and the setting is definitely quite original, and that Inception-like train level was one of the coolest moments I've had in a game all year.
I agree that it has a lot of style, but I felt like I spent too much time on slow-moving platforms busying myself with combat roles. It's sad when something looks so good, and yet I got tired of it so quickly. I'm giving Vanquish 7 out of 10 rubber chickens.
I liked it a bit more than you. I'm giving it 8 out of 10 rubber chickens. And you can see our full interview with Shinji Mikami on our website.
Good game.
To win our Zombie Brian, you had to make a 1-minute zombie video.
We had 200 entries, and that means a lot of zombies.
He could just see you make it through another year in this corpse-infested wasteland. Just kidding. You're all gonna die.
Bonjour, are you feeling okay? Ow! You bit me.
Clockwise motion.
I like games.
Cut!
What now?
I said good game.
I can't understand you.
Good game.
Smells like bacon in here. Bacon and armpit.
Sorry, not you guys. Well, let that go. That's just down another. Okay,
You know, I've always wanted some extra limbs or a spare eye, and I really love cucumbers.
Tonight, we'll be looking at gaming addictions and Dead Rising 2.
Gaming.
Imagine the irony, Badger, if a game about killing zombies actually created gaming zombies.
Game.
When you're down and life's a pain, end it now with Good Game Brains.
There's zombies on the lawn.
Zombies on the lawn?
There's zombies on the lawn. We don't want zombies on the lawn.
No, we don't want zombies on the lawn.
Okay,
man.
get plants.
Okay, awesome.
Okay. Yes, okay, where'd they go?
Good game.
Don't eat the pizza. Bad zombie.
What are we gonna do when we start decomposing?
What?
Give me some duct tape!
And you want to win your own zombie, right?
Sure I do.
Okay, so all you have to do is say good game, all right?
Yep, good game. Okay, I think I've got it.
And knowing is half the battle.
Watch the goodies.
Oh, close enough.
Nailed it.
Good game.
The original Force Unleashed didn't quite live up to its expectations, but was still a very good game. The sequel, I had high hopes for, Hex, but those hopes have now been crushed into a ball and discarded like old candy.
Yeah, I mean, this game was a bit of a step backwards from the original, wasn't it? I mean, the story... Well, to be honest, I'm struggling to find any real meaningful plot points, and what little story there is have virtually no resolution.
You're alive. How long this time?
Starkiller is back from the dead as a clone, and he escapes Vader's clutches to go in search of Juno Eclipse. And that's pretty much it, with the whole ordeal only taking about 5 hours to get through.
Yeah, and the combat is exactly the same, mixing force powers with lightsabers and a massive amount of QuickTime events. That's not really a bad thing, because the combat is quite fun, and I never tire of throwing stormtroopers against a wall, Hex, but there are far fewer enemy types here, so it's 90% stormtroopers and the rest are these things. It just lacks any variety and just gets dull and repetitive, and the few boss fights that there actually are take way too long to do, and it just all lacks the excitement that the first game had.
Yeah, and like the first, you can earn experience points, which you can spend on leveling up your force powers and your saber skills. And by finding holocrons, you can increase your health and force powers, or unlock new saber crystals, which have different bonus effects like quicker health or force regeneration.
As far as new features go, as you can see, there are 2 lightsabers now, but it doesn't really change anything except having another lightsaber to customize and, you know, looking cool. There is one new force power, the Jedi Mind Trick, which makes enemies attack each other and commit suicide.
I'm not here.
Dismembering is in now, which is nice. It still isn't quite the dismembering frenzy that a lightsaber fight should be, but it's always satisfying decapitating a bunch of stormtroopers with one single lightsaber throw.
You'll only be visiting 4 different locations here, one of which doesn't actually have any fighting and is about a minute long. One gets reused, and another is just a boring old spaceship with lots of samey corridors. But 2 of them are quite pretty.
Yeah, it's all quite pretty, really. I mean, some of the parts look as good as any from the film, and you really can't go wrong with that epic Star Wars score. But the graphics are as good as any we've ever seen, I think, and there's some really beautiful moments scattered throughout the game.
But there's only so many times that running across an exploding bridge or falling through the sky or dodging stuff stays awesome. It's great the first time, but then you just kind of feel like they're running out of ideas as it gets reused.
Yeah, I mean, I guess they were still some of the best bits of the game. Anyway, there are also challenges. They're nothing special, really, but they add maybe another hour or so to its 5-hour length, so they're worth mentioning.
There's just so much missed potential here, Hex. You know, the Star Wars universe is such a rich universe, so to not have a fully fleshed out story is such a shame. Also, it's just far too short. 5 hours isn't enough chop for a fully priced game, so it's bargain bin or borrow, I think. I'm giving it 5 out of 10 rubber chickens.
No, I kept thinking it was just about to get interesting, but it never did, and then it just ended and explained nothing, but set it up for a sequel, which has apparently now been cancelled by LucasArts. If you like the original, then you'll probably have some fun with this, but not nearly enough, so I'm giving it 6 out of 10 rubber chickens.
Looking through all the zombie videos, one thing that has stood out is the superb visual effects.
Yep. Mutilations, amputations, eviscerations, and decapitations. You are a creatively bloodthirsty lot.
Good game. Zombies eating other zombies. Finding other survivors.
Oh God! Oh, it's my arm!
Good game.
I cannot believe you come into my studio and eat my finger. Now get out!
Sony's handheld, the
PSP,
that's right. Time to go fossicking for your PSP and charge it because Kratos is back in God of War Ghost of Sparta.
You have desecrated my kingdom!
Haunted by his mortal past, Kratos embarks on a journey to find out more about his brother who was taken away when he was just a child. And you'll actually find out some new things about Kratos, which we won't spoil for you. There are a few interesting devices used to tell the story, but it would have been nice to have a little bit more backstory with some of the characters, because unless you're a massive God of War fan, then it's going to be a little bit hard to follow.
Yeah, at least you know what your objective is, you know, that's really clear. And Kratos appears to know exactly what's going on, even if you don't. Heck, so I felt this God of War took more influence from God of War 3 than any of the others, and that means you get really exciting and ambitious action, and it certainly looks and plays very good, but it's all at the expense of the puzzles, and it's a bit of a shame, that shift.
And didn't their research tell the dev team, though, that the reason why players quit the previous games was because of those tough puzzles?
Well, maybe, but it's diminished it somewhat for me, you know. I love those puzzles. It was a nice break from the action, and you felt such accomplishment when you beat them, so it's just a bit of a shame.
It must be a real challenge, though, designing big world platforming puzzles on such a small screen. I mean, maybe they just decided it didn't really work very well.
Yeah, maybe.
On the plus side, it is a much more immediate game, and the loading is so seamless now. You know, Kratos will bust open doors instead of lifting them slowly. It's more in keeping with him, and it's the most technically impressive looking game on the PSP by far. The action gels with the cutscenes, and those little close combat interactions with enemies are almost flawless. You're constantly being surprised by the world crumbling around you and some truly epic foes.
There's more of those excellent revenge moments too, where you just get to lay into an enemy. Crash tackling feels like a very natural thing for Kratos to do, and it lets you mash baddies into the ground until you're done, or fling them about at other enemies to buy a bit of breathing space, which I liked very much. A little bit too much.
Kratos has some new tricks up his sleeve. Early on, he adds fire to his chains, which is the only thing that can destroy the armor of certain foes. I enjoyed the extra magic bar to look after, though, Barjo. It's a little bit fiddly to activate during certain combos, though. But at least it mixes up what we've come to expect from Kratos' combat, so it's a welcome addition without messing with the established formula. I think there's still enough new stuff here to keep people happy, and God of War still holds the title for best QuickTime events in gaming. They're challenging and don't annoy you with painful thumbstick circle movements, and they only punish you a little if you fail, which lets you enjoy the moment.
If you played any God of War game before, though, you definitely need to play this on one of the harder difficulty settings. Otherwise, you'll only die about 4 or 5 times and you won't feel stressed out. And a God of War game, the battles should stress you out. You should be really stressing about which magic to use, where to survive, and just getting through with a skerrick of health. And if you don't do that, then you won't feel that stress and you'll miss out on so much. I know the argument of that there's a broader range of gamers now, but those gamers deserve to feel stressed too, and I just don't think they're going to win anyone over by making a game like this too easy. You know, it's all about the stress, the battles, the struggle.
Yeah, but I mean, it's good that the game is longer though, right? Even if a lot of that length comes from opening chests and absorbing orbs, more so than the previous games, I thought. Or maybe I'm just getting better at finding them. And who keeps leaving all these chests around anyway? At least in Darksiders, you've got to punch them in the face.
Chest blasphemy. The chests are a part of the God of War recipe. Recipe for God of War. Lots of chests, big enemies, balancing on poles, new weapons, the line, "What treachery is this?"
What treachery is this?
A QuickTime event sex scene, and light reflection puzzles.
But there were no light reflection puzzles in Ghost of Sparta.
Yeah, I just pretended there were. I tell you what, they've got their level direction down so well now. It's just a fine art, the way it moves you through the level. You always know where to go, and the glint of a chest or a light will catch your eye in the distance and make you go, "Ooh, what's that? Better get it." My only complaint is that if you're throwing a goon off a ledge or off a cliff, they'll just hit that invisible wall and bounce back in. It's only a small complaint, but I really like lobbing dudes off cliffs in games.
Wrapping things up, I think my favourite part of Ghost of Sparta was swinging about through all those crumbling levels. This will chew through your battery more than your standard PSP game, but it's worth it. I'm giving it 8.5 out of 10 rubber chickens.
I'm a huge God of War fan, so as sad as I am to see all the puzzles just falling by the wayside, it's hard to complain about a game that looks and plays this good. So on normal difficulty, I'm giving it 8 out of 10 rubber chickens, and on hard, I'm giving it 9 out of 10 rubber chickens.
2 scores?
I can give it 2 scores if I want to.
You can't.
Why not?
You can't just give it
Show
one
me the
score
rule
on one difficulty and another score on the other.
Yeah.
Alright, well then I'm giving it 8.5 on gameplay and then a 10 out of 10 because I was eating these really awesome chips while I was playing it that improved my overall experience.
Well, now I'm giving you 7 out of 10 for not giving me any chips.
Good game! So could you guess the game for this week?
Could you?
It was Daxter, a sprightly platformer on the PSP that was the very first game from Ghost of Sparta developer Ready at Dawn.
time now to announce Brian's new owners.
We've had so much fun watching all of your videos, and it's been really hard deciding on a winner. So much so that we've actually gathered together some stuff for some runner-up prizes. Now, those runner-up videos are...
Let's do this. That one's bigger.
Did you hear that?
Growing up half human and half zombie was tough for young Sally. The human kids didn't want to play, and the zombies didn't want to eat her. All she wanted was to be noticed, to be someone. Sally isn't going to stand around and wait for these monsters to ruin another young girl's life. They will pay.
Good riddance.
They will run.
Good luck.
They will die.
Good game.
Congratulations to Mr. Club 209 and Straight to See Pictures.
And now, here's our winner.
Oh my god.
Hey, man. Hi. You serious? What? We need a fourth. Fold. Fold. I'm all in. Cool.
Good game.
Now, was that really necessary?
There's blood in the chips.
Brilliant job, Haywire Films. We love this one for its story and humour, and of course, it's excellent zombie. Unfortunately, it was a little bit too graphic for our time slot, so the unsplattered, or should we say splattered version, is available on the Good Game YouTube channel along with all the other entries for mature viewers only.
Yes, goodbye, Brian. I'm going to miss you, and behave yourself in your new home. Oh, I'm going to miss that zombie.
Oh, me too. We will, of course, be back next week along with our arcade machine, just for you, Wiki, and Call of Duty Black Ops. Plus a look at what happens behind the scenes when a multiplayer game like COD gets launched.
Don't forget, over on ABC3 for our younger viewers, Good Game Spawn Point this week has the latest Professor Layton game and DJ Hero 2. Until next week, gamers, Barjo out.
Hex out. I know you're going to miss Brian, so I actually got you a little something to remember him by. Your very own tiara.
Well, thanks very much. But Brian's costume's not going anywhere.
What do you mean?
We've put way too much work into it. It's staying right here.
Are you going to wear it?
Yeah.